Well, there are a number of things that the investigators are going to have to look at. Based on the video, even though it gives them some good orientation as to what the aircraft may have been doing initially, you have three main components coming off that aircraft. Of course, you have the tail boom itself with the tail rotor, and then you have the main rotor blades and part of the transmission. The question is, what was the sequence of events? They'll start with looking at maintenance records to see if there was any maintenance that had been done on the helicopter in the hours or days prior to the accident, see what was going on. And of course, they'll be looking at pilots, but the recovery of the wreckage and then the piecing back together of those component parts will really give them some good understanding as to whether or not there was a mechanical malfunction or failure that initiated the loss of control and sequence of events of breakup, or was it an operational issue that led to a catastrophic deconstruction of the aircraft. There's only so much room or distance between the main rotor blade and the tail boom, especially if they droop. And that's why we've seen it in the past where you get into turbulence and the blades start flapping up and down. There's also a phenomenon called mast bumping, where the main rotor mast itself starts to bump up against the forward and aft stop, and those blades will flex down and cut the tail boom. That's all of those elements are those that are going to be investigated by the NTSB, but it's going to be incumbent upon them to get some good physical evidence. And given the fact that the aircraft went into the water, that minimizes some of the damage that you might see if the aircraft had struck hard ground, concrete, pavement of some sort. So if you're going to go and take one of these tours, I would start with the internet, look at the reviews, look at what people are saying. Some of it you have to take with a grain of salt because they may have been upset because they had to wait, but you got to read between the lines. Did the machine look good? Did it look like it was being maintained? Was the pilot knowledgeable in the briefings and things like that? Those are the kinds of things that you want to look at to determine whether or not you're getting on with a good operator or somebody that may be suspect. These tour operators are very popular. They're quick turn a lot of the time, especially if the weather's good and you got a lot of people waiting. And, that too poses a problem. There has to be procedures, there has to be standards that are met. That should be a major question in the NTSB investigation. The NTSB has always identified when they've gotten into at least high visibility or large major investigations, some of the shortcomings and deficiencies of the FAA. And whether it's because of manpower or monetary resource money for the inspectors to be able to do their job, that I would expect to be at least an element of this investigation. Under the current climate with the current administration and a lot of the cuts that were made in the past and are still being made, and of course, the money itself, the budget, all of those elements are going to be, should be examined, I should say, should be examined. We still don't have an administrator of the FAA. There is a nominee right now, but we've had a revolving door at the top level of the FAA.